So you're a veteran or you know a veteran and you're thinking about moving to Texas. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly everything Texas has to offer you benefit-wise for serving our country. And we thank you greatly for that. You know, my daughter, Rebecca, just got married to her husband, Navy vet Brian Graham, back in November. I am so proud to have him as a son-in-law. Our whole family is so proud, and we just really think Rebecca has done really well for himself because he's just such a good person inside and out. And they just moved recently from here in Houston, Texas, up to Williamsburg, Virginia. And she's been sharing a lot of information with me that she's had to learn as a new Navy wife. And so I just felt like it would be so valuable to share what I've learned here in the state of Texas and share it with you. Check out this video. We'll go through what you're entitled to home-wise, education-wise, work-wise, recreational-wise, and even talk a lot about, or a little bit actually, about getting all your benefits, all your disability benefits. So if you stick to the end, you'll get all that valuable information. So let's get after it. Channel, welcome. Just hit the subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications, and you'll be the first to know what's going on in the greater Houston area market. My name is Tanya Bardo, and I have my own team here, and we get calls from people just like you every single day wanting to move to Houston, Texas. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, just give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, and we'll help you make that smooth move to Houston, Texas. So today we're going to talk about veteran benefits. And I have Travis Cup with Teacup Lending here with me to talk to you all about VA loans and all the benefits that veterans get here in the state of Texas. And when Travis and I have worked on quite a few loans together and quite a few VA loans together. And whenever I'm recommending him, I tell everybody he is the VA wizard. And we've gotten some great things done together. So, Travis, we were just talking and we were going over, how can we get more information out to veterans and what do we think they need to know and what will be helpful for them to know. So, what are some of the benefits in regards to a home and the home buying process that we can share with them?
So, with just about everybody, I spend, every veteran I've got to spend about 5 to 10 minutes talking about the overarching home loan benefits. And the ones that are most surprising to them are actually the most important. So the number one benefit is that you can actually have multiple VA home loans at the same time with no money down, right? A lot of people think they have to sell their house or that they can only use the loan one time, but that's actually not true. So if a veteran is splitting up entitlement between two different properties, entitlement is just the way that they calculate how much house you get for zero down. If they're splitting between two properties, it'll go up to the county loan limit, which is the amount of money you can borrow before it goes into a jumbo loan. Okay, and this year in 2022, that limit is just under $650,000. Okay. So, I mean, essentially, if you had here in Texas, we get a lot of people that move from Oklahoma because our state's better. So I know it's a shocker. It's a lot better. So if they had a $200,000 VA home loan in Oklahoma, they could get a $450,000 home loan in Houston with no money down. Okay. And that doesn't mean that's where their limit is. If they found a house for $500,000, they could still buy that house. They just got to cover 25% of the difference between the loan amount with zero down and what they're actually purchasing. With a $50,000 difference, that's a $12,500 difference. So that's all they would have to bring to closing is that $12,500, and they could buy a $500,000 house while keeping that Oklahoma property. Okay. And about how much houses are going up in this market right now. I mean, we're expecting, Case and Schiller is showing between 18 to 21% home appreciation for this year. So that $200,000 house may be worth 240 by the end of the year. And, that's going to be, I don't know a lot of veterans that are saving $40,000 a year, right? But by keeping onto that house, it's got that much value. So at a time you can sell it or you can access some of the equity in the house. And I'll get a little in that.
So how does that work? Just for me, just so that I understand, is an entitlement just an amount they're entitled to? And then does each state have a different amount?
No, the entitlement's going to run the same everywhere else. So they get entitlement. So basically, if you did not have a dishonorable discharge, you're going to have your VA entitlement for regular military. For Coast Guard and reserves, they need to have been in for 6 years and made all of their points, meaning they showed up to drill every weekend. And so then once they get there, there's two sets of entitlement. There's basic entitlement, and then there's the bonus entitlement. Okay, the basic entitlement was what was started originally with the VA loan around the VA era. So it was like $36,000. Keep in mind, that's your entitlement amount. The loan amount you can get is 4 times that, right? So that would put it at $144,000 that they're technically able to buy a loan for. And without getting too far into those details of when we do cross over and use it, just know that it's with very, very few exceptions. You just count it as a total amount. And that entitlement, the bonus entitlement just covers whatever amount it is up to the county loan limit. And there are some exceptions, right? In LA, you're not going to find a house for $650,000, right? It's not out there. So theirs is closer to like 1.1 million for there. So it has to do with the county before whatever that is that the county changes to go into a jumbo. The other thing I want to point out is on January 1st, 2020, the VA removed purchase price, the zero down purchase price requirement. So it used to be at 6, at that year that it came out, it was actually like 444,000, but it's that the limit goes up every year. So what they did is they removed it. So if you have all of your entitlement, meaning you sold your house in the Oklahoma scenario, if you sold that house, now you've got all of your entitlement back and there isn't a purchase price limit anymore. I've done up to a $3 million loan in Georgia with no money down, right? And that's huge. I mean, especially when the rates were in the high 2s and low 3s, looking at that, that's not that much of a payment. In any other loan program, that person would have had to have put $750,000 down. Now that person that was self-employed can use that to help grow his business. He's got an extra $750,000 sitting close to the vest that he absolutely would have had to put down at any point, before that was released. And so back on this Oklahoma house scenario, we can get your entitlement back on one property by refinancing it over to a conventional loan. So let's say you wanted to buy a $700,000 house in Houston, but you wanted to keep your $200,000 house in Oklahoma. It's really not much of a problem. All you got to do is find a lender like myself. We'll refinance that VA loan into a conventional loan and then request a one-time restoration of entitlement. You can only do it for one property throughout your life. And that property, you'll get all of your entitlement back. Now you can go and buy a house in Houston with no money down. There is no limits on how big that purchase price can be. And the other cool thing about that is if you're keeping that other home, if you hire a property management company to rent it out for you, or you've got 2 years of property management experience, that could actually even be you worked for an apartment as the repair guy for 2 years. That will actually count. Or if you've claimed rental income on your taxes for 2 years, we do not have to count that mortgage payment against you as one of your debts because we can see that it's going to be paid by someone else. So you've got all of your purchasing power back for the new home. And like I said, this is huge when you look down the road at 10 years, 20 years. I mean, think about people that bought any house anywhere in America 10 or 15 years ago and what it's worth today, right? So again, in a lot of cases, they don't have to sell that home. They can keep that. And if they're not great at setting up the retirement savings or they're not, on schedule with that, well, an extra house will get you there pretty quick, right? In 10, 15 years, these $300,000 houses are going to be worth $500,000 and $600,000. That's real money that they have to access. And, they can also do cash out loans. We just have to switch it from VA to conventional. So if they've got a house that they only owe $200,000 on, but it's worth $500,000, they can take $200,000 cash out, leave the closing table and have a $200,000 check that they can use for whatever they want. Maybe you put that as a down payment on an investment property somewhere in Florida and, use Airbnb because on average out in that area, it only takes 7 nights of Airbnb rentals to cover your mortgage. right? So there's all kinds of things you can do to build wealth using your VA benefits. And it really ticks me off that a lot of people don't know this stuff. So I help to change it one agent at a time. We talk to every listing agent about some of these things to put them at ease to accept our VA offers. So that's entitlement and having two homes at once. That's the more complicated of ones. I like to get that out front because that's the biggest real life changer in my book. The next major thing, the VA doesn't have a minimum credit requirement. You can have a 0 credit score and get a VA loan, right? I've done it a lot with the special operations community. I can qualify them with Netflix and car insurance. I promise you that's what it is. I just got to track that they've made some kind of payments for 2 years, and I can use that. To get them in. Now, where this myth comes in is because the VA doesn't actually lend the money. Okay, the banks do. They guarantee it for the bank. If it was to default, the bank catches a check of 25% of what the loan amount is. Okay, so they can't do it. So if I'm a big box bank and I'm lending the money, I can make my own rules and go, hey, we're not going to lend money to anyone with less than a 640 credit score.
Tell them what a big box bank is.
A major bank that you definitely know. I'm not going to say the name for legal reasons, but major places that you see on most mortgage statements, any of the ones that are household names that everybody knows the name of. Okay. So they'll set their rules. One may say they won't do a loan, below 620 credit score. One may say 660. Some of them may even say 580, but that is not a VA requirement. I work with a bank that will do any loan that the VA guarantees. And I make that a condition for anyone that I ever work with, because I'm not going to add extra rules to the veteran that don't need to be there. Because every time there's an extra set of rules, that's another veteran that I can't get into a home. So I work exclusively with banks that will underwrite anything that the VA guarantees.
The smaller ones.
That's right. Again, you're going to find that a lot with your local banks, right? A lot of them are veterans and they don't have 5 million employees that they're trying to taper around. The bigger the company, the more kind of strict and stringent it gets. So, the credit thing's a big one. I talk to a lot of them that don't think they'll be able to be approved for doing that. That being said, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be approved, right? You need to have 12 months of clean credit history. Don't miss payments on there. If you've missed your last 6 car payments, you're not going to get a home loan. I can promise you. You got to get 12 months of clean credit history if you really, really want to get it done. There's some exceptions to that. You messed up on one thing and it's a little card. We can make exceptions on there because the VA rules are written to be gray for a reason, because they want the lender to find a good reason to do it. All we got to do is document it. Find a reason. Does it make sense to put this veteran in a home? Because the last thing I want to do is put them in a home and they can't make the payment and then they get kicked out and now they're homeless, right? That's the exact opposite of why I got into this industry. So, there has to be certain things there, but a credit score should not stop you from getting into a VA home loan. You need to talk to a VA expert that can break it down. And again, even if you're not in there today, I put everyone through my Patriot program where we customize a plan to get them home ready in the next 6 or 12 months. The next major myth about the VA is that the appraisals are harder different. They're not. They're the same as an FHA. And it's the only loan product with 2 chances to overturn that appraisal value. I can actually do it. If you've got a bad appraiser on a conventional loan, there's nothing you can do about it. You can send them in comps and hope they like it. But if they don't, there is no recourse. Okay.
And we've gone through that together before too.
The other thing is that a stat that just came out from the VA, it was in June or July of 2021, that 80% of conventional loans came in at value or higher. 85% of VA appraisals came in higher. So you've actually got, you've got a higher percentage of them coming in at value than conventional. Yet, right?
We want them to get a home. They deserve a home, right? Everybody works hard to get them in their home.
And on the most recent one that we had, we tried to do the appraiser didn't like it, but I didn't like the appraiser. So we did a reconsideration of value and we removed the appraiser from the process. My team and the VA Regional Loan Center, they go over to determine the value no matter what the appraiser has to say. And that was the difference of being able to be in a home and not. That program is not available on any of the other loan products. So those are probably the 3 biggest things. I could go in forever on the home side, but just know that Your credit score should not stop you from becoming a homeowner. You can have multiple VA home loans and start building a real retirement package out of it. Mm-hmm. And the appraisals are not harder. You just have to deal with a lender that actually understands them. Unfortunately, a lot of the market doesn't. So those are the most important things on the home side.
Yeah, that's why I love working with you, because you figure it out. And everybody's so appreciative every time they work with you. Like, they're like, you said he's a wizard, but I know you meant it. And I'm like, I told you. Okay, so let's talk about education benefits.
Okay. So, I mean, the GI Bill is the national program that most people know about that helps pay them to go through school. In Texas, we've got our own Hazelwood Act. Okay. And that allows for 150 hours of tuition in college to be paid for. It doesn't cover books and living and that stuff. Whereas you can lean on your GI Bill for some of the other ones. So what's really cool and unique about this is that they passed a secondary act after that called the Legacy Act. And that allows you, if you decide that like, hey, school's not for me, I don't want to do that. I've already got, a good job of transitioning out of the military going here. I don't want to do the school thing. The Legacy Act allows you to give that to a spouse or child, right? So one of your kids can go to school and they will pay for them because you didn't use it. And that's you're a mother, right? College, you look at the prices of tuition on that stuff and it's like,
Yep.
That's probably one of the bigger ones that's here in Texas. Because again, we're going over state benefits. We can probably do another video for federal that goes, that we can talk about some of the federal benefits. But as far as the education thing, that's a big one. Is with that Legacy Act, you can pass that on to a kid, and it also works if you're a surviving spouse of somebody killed in the line of duty, or if they're missing in action. You can also grant that to your spouse, or you can pay for one of your kids' colleges with that as well.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. I think that's really.
And there's not a lot of states that do that stuff. So, I definitely encourage any veteran when they're moving states to figure out what those state level benefits are. And if I can click on, we'll cover it at the end, I guess, with some more of the disability stuff, because I can go down a rabbit hole with that one. We'll see how much time we got at the end to go down some of the specific disability.
Yeah. Okay, so that was education. And what about work benefits?
So when people are leaving the military, if they haven't retired from the military, if they're not getting their 20-year retirement benefits, they're allowed to go and work for a state or federal organization. So, a local, state police, or even federal police, if they're working with anything, FBI, DEA, Highway Patrol, all that stuff. They can actually use their time of service in the military toward their retirement in that thing. So if they spent 4 years in the military, they can actually retire from the police force after 16 years. You have to pay into the pension for the 4 years that you were in the military. So you may be putting a little bit more in during your 16 years. Or, there's a lot of people I know that left the military after 12 years. They only need to do 8 years on the force to collect their retirement. Right? They're going to pay toward that pension for the 12 years that they weren't really on the police force. But how cool is that to be able to leave out and retire after, 20 years of actually working and getting there? So that's a really big benefit for there. And they actually, all these state and federal organizations will take a preference of somebody that's served during a wartime over regular civilians, up until 40% of that agency is filled with wartime veterans. And that's a great benefit to have because, there's a certain level of experience and composure that's gained from our military members that is just not out here in the real world. It's not a gimme, a little handout thing. It's because they make better employees. I know it because my whole entire last team was Green Berets, and I could never I've never worked with people that are just so sharp and just on it. And I make that a priority now. I'm about to only hire special operations soldiers because they're the best. You can't phase them. They never get overwhelmed because no one's shooting at them this time. So it's not that big of a deal for them, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen stuff that make normal load officers cry, and these guys take it with just a grain of salt. And, cool, whatever. So that's one of the benefits there. So if you've done that, make sure that you're adding that on to any resume for anything that counts for teaching. You name it, any state government type job that you're going to get. If all other things are the same, they're going to go with a wartime veteran and get you into that job.
Yeah, I enjoy, the people that help me. Most of them are some type of veteran. So, and even when I started in sales, I worked for a Marine. So, and then we ended up being together for 3 years. And that's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. Okay, speaking of that, recreation benefits.
So every state's different on this. Most of them are kind of circling around state parks, hunting and fishing. Mm-hmm. And so this is where we'll start talking about disability ratings. Anytime you've got any veteran with 50% or higher disability rating is going to get they call it the jumbo package, I believe. Super combo is what they call it, which is hunting and fishing. You can get that package for your hunting and fishing licenses absolutely free. Right? If you have below that disability amount, you're going to get 50% off on that deal. So they're going to get that within the same thing, 60% or higher disability, or if your disability is coming from mobility issues with legs or feet, they will also do that. So even if you're 20% disabled, but your right foot doesn't work, right? You're going to get that one for free. They're going to pass it along to you because it's harder to move around in those things. And they want to encourage people to get out, in the outdoors and do fun stuff in wildlife. You also get, free state park passes if you file and get your disabled veteran plates. You can park at the airport for free, and that's pretty cool because I just went on a trip for 4 days and paid like $120 for my parking. So they can be brutal up there. So there's all kinds of stuff to do. And if anyone is interested in increasing their disability rating, I work with a lot of companies that's all they do is they help veterans get the disability rating that they've earned. Let's face it, everyone that joined our military raised their right hand and swore to defend this country against enemies, foreign and domestic. And, that comes with a lot of cost. I mean, even just the training. I mean, I help with brain treatment all the time because when people are around, even if they didn't go to combat, if they practiced, and they shot a lot of artillery, the shock waves that come from those explosions go through your head. It has the same effect in your brain as if you slammed your head against a wall. And so we're seeing a lot of traumatic brain injuries and stuff coming through there. And again, it gets worse as time goes on. So I'd start your filing now, and you'll, especially any of you guys that you talk to a Vietnam veteran of like, yeah, it was fine. I didn't file for my disability. Now they're 75 and completely immobile, but because they had no disability rating the entire time up to there, they have literal hell trying to get anything filed. So, and if you know anything about how government budgets are run, if you don't spend the money in your yearly budget, they lower your budget the next year. There is no saving in the military budget. They don't. So if you don't claim that disability, it's going to go somewhere else. And guess what? All the workers, don't you want the most talented nurses and doctors and physicians working in the VA? How do they do that if they're not getting funding? So for all the guys that are just trying to tough it up and do it, you're essentially putting more pressure, even to the point of even possibly screwing over other veterans, because that's why the treatment's so lacking, is because they're not claiming the funds that are allocated. So it keeps getting cut. Well, we don't need the funds more for this year because they didn't use them. So why would we buy this new equipment, right? We don't need the funds. So by filing your claim, you're helping out all the other people and you're setting the precedent for further down the road to have more funds to do the things that are necessary to take care of our veterans when they get home. Because let's face it, we do a terrible job of taking care of them once they get home. You can look no further than the 9/11 first responders. I could go into that down rabbit hole for a very, very, very long time, but we're not going to do that. But again, this is why you've got to file for your benefits. You've earned them. I want you to have them. Thank you for raising your right hand, because I didn't go overseas. I didn't do it, but I do enjoy all the freedoms that I live here. I like the fact that no one kicks in my door and goes, this house is mine now, right? That doesn't happen here. A lot of places around the world, yeah, well, sorry, it's mine. I want it. Get out. These are the freedoms that we enjoy, and I would not be able to do what I do in this business if we didn't have those freedoms. So if you're on the fence about it, give me a call. We'll talk about it as to how it affects other veterans around you. I mean, you learn in the military to take care of the person to the left and the right of you, right? Of like, that's what the brotherhood is, and you embrace the suck together. I would encourage you to do that with other people that have any reason to file for a disability claim. You should do it because it's going to help out other people, the people behind you. I doubt we've seen our last war.
And Travis's information will be down in the info of this video, as well as popped up every now and then on this video. So just reach out to him if you have any questions at all about what we've been talking about. Okay, so is there anything extra you want to talk about and discuss?
Yeah, so along the disability rating, things in there, it has a big part to do with some of the loan stuff. So for instance, the state of Texas, and I think it's over 20 states, but it's not all of them. About 20 states in America will give you a property tax exemption if you're a 100% disabled veteran. Okay, so if I've got 100% disability rating, and here in Texas, our property taxes are high because we don't have an income tax, right? So our property taxes are how they kind of make up for that. But just recently, I had a veteran buying a pretty high dollar amount house that had $1,200 a month of taxes. He's 100% disabled, no tax payment for you. We set up the paperwork that gets filed into the county. It goes into effect immediately. So we actually added into the closing paperwork. So when you buy your new house, that house is registered as tax-free. You're never going to pay property taxes on that house. Now, if you've got a lower disability rating, when you go to the website, it makes it seem like the way it's worded, it makes it sound like you're saving a lot. But the way it works out is if you're at 90% disability, you're not 100% exempt, you get $12,500 off of your assessed value, which means if your house was worth $300,000, now they're taxing it as if it's worth $285,000, right? So it's not. It does help. I mean, and I get those filed as well, but you're looking at saving, $20, $30 a month, not hundreds. So if you're right on that fence, right on that border, it's been 5 years since you've had a checkup and you've updated your disability rating. If you're at 90%, go back in, see if you get to 100, because it will save you hundreds of dollars a month for the rest of your life. And again, if you've been to combat or just even through the process of being in the military, and you've got the ailments that determine for you to be 100% disabled, you shouldn't pay property taxes. You fought so the rest of us can own property. Let us take that burden. You go ahead and enjoy your slice of the pie. Thank you for what you sacrificed getting there. You don't need to pay the property taxes. And that's, I think most people do feel that way. And so it's definitely worth getting done because, I mean, like I said, that's the difference of, buying the house of your dreams or not, quite frankly, It's a good portion of the house payment. The other thing is for our 100% disabled veterans, and you can do it sometimes with just a higher over 70% disabled. There's a program to help. It's called Special Adaptive Housing Grants. So you can get 2 in your lifetime. It's very rare that someone actually gets 2 of them. So you kind of want to do it on a house that you want to make your forever home. But they'll give you a grant to make your house, to kind of change your house to be better for your disabilities. So recently I had someone that got over $150,000 grant. She was wheelchair bound, and they lowered the countertops everywhere so that she could actually see the counters. They put on an electric lift, to go upstairs and downstairs from there. And they put in ramps in the front and back, so that was all covered by the VA. She didn't have to pay anything for it. You file for it. It can typically take about 6 months to 12 months to get everything finalized and done. But I mean, it changed her life. It made everything. She hasn't really been able to see on top of the counters, or at least be able to assist with anything. And none of our veterans want to feel, helpless or useless. So they will redesign the house for whatever it is. It may be something to do with arms, and they've got to they've got to reshuffle. But they customize the home to your disability needs, and that's super important.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
So, and the last thing I'd say about disability, it kind of pertains back on the home loan side. If you don't have a disability rating, there's going to be something called a funding fee attached to your loan. This year, if it's your first home you're buying, it's 2.3% of the loan amount. So if you're buying a, $300,000 house, it's going to be right around, it's going to put you right at $7,000. Okay. If you've already bought a house and you're buying your second one and you're still putting no money down, it's 3.6%. That becomes a $10,000 funding fee. Now, you don't actually pay that up front of the loan. It gets added to the back end of your loan. So instead of a $300,000 loan for the house, it's a $307,000 or $310,000 loan. So you don't actually end up paying it until you sell the house or pay the house off. That's how it works to roll in there. Another great reason to file for disability, even if it is only 10%. 10% disability rating, no funding fee. So you're going to save 10. I mean, again, if you're one of the people that are buying the multi-million-dollar houses, you're saving 70 grand, 90 grand on that house. So those are probably the most important things. Just make sure that if you got your disability thing, make sure you're getting checked up from time to time, because they treat it, if you haven't been in 10 years and now you're starting to have back problems, they treat it as almost as if you've been lying the whole time, that you're just, now you want it. So, even if the issues are minor, make sure that they're documented. So if you do need it later on, then you're going to get there, because a lot of the people in the organizations I work with that help with disability ratings, that's what their biggest fight is people that did hurt themselves and just didn't report it, like, that somebody else needs this more than me.
Right. Yeah, they toughed it out.
And then, but by the time you do need it, it's that much harder for you to get it. So as you file it out there, it doesn't mean you have to go through that, you don't have to pull it out, but make sure that you've got a track record with your doctor of having these things checked up, and go in every now and again. I know it sucks going to the doctor, but go in so that they can show, like, hey, yeah, it did get worse over this time. Because if you've got a 10-year gap, they may assume that you hurt yourself playing basketball.
Right.
Service connected. So that's the main reason to do it, because you're going to be helping out the veterans that are joining the service today, that are going to be injured tomorrow. You're helping out the other people right now that are filing these bigger claims, because again, they're accounting for the budget next year based on how many people claim this year. And the more they've got in their budget, the more workers that they're going to start hiring, the better, people out there, the better quality physicians. So I think that's probably about all I'll go into with disability on this. If you guys have any specific questions as to your case, if how some of these injuries work, or maybe you were a contractor, we can get into a lot of those details. But I think we've pretty much covered most of the benefits that most of our veterans are going to be after.
Well, I appreciate you with this and coming on today and really helping get some information out there in the real estate community and to our veterans on, what belongs to them, right? So that is what we have to share with y'all today. Please reach out to us. The information is in the description of this video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for your service, and I'll see you in the next video.
And thanks, guys. And if you want more VA videos about buying the home process and any of that good stuff, just go to teacuplending.com or Teacup Lending on my YouTube channel.
See you next time.